Hey guys, welcome back. So we're gonna do something that we've never done before. Something new, something fun, using something that you love right now. So we're gonna be making plaster 3D emojis. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is make an armature, or like the structure of our emoji. So we're gonna use this lovely lid and some thicker pieces of tag board or whatever kind of cardstock you have around. So we're gonna, on both pieces of paper, go ahead and trace a circle. You're gonna wanna cut both pieces at the same time. So stack them together and hold on. So now you should have two circles that are pretty much exactly the same. You're also going to get a long strip of paper. This is going to create the sides of our emoji. This piece right here. So this piece is kind of delicate, and before you go trying to make it, you want to have some masking tape cut up into about 10 pieces, about this big each piece. Okay, so I've got my 10 pieces kind of set aside. Now, you want to take this long strip and you want to measure around your circle. Kind of wrap it around so that you see how big the circle is. But you don't want to be on the outside of it. You want to be on the inside of it. So maybe just a wee bit smaller. Okay, so now that I've got it estimated, I'm going to go ahead and close this off with a little piece of tape. Just right on the edge there. Okay, so this is the ring that will make the sides of it. And yeah, it's not the right shape, but that's okay. You can kind of play with it. So now we're going to turn it over and put the circle on top of it. Take those pieces of tape and gently, you don't want to squish it, gently put the piece on the top and wrap it around to the bottom. Now it's okay if it's not perfect to start, because we can kind of play with the shape as we go along. I like to do the bottom and then turn it around and do the top. Now gently on top. Now squish it so that it's even and place a piece of tape. Now you can go from the inside too and just kind of do the edge like that. Now, still not perfect, that's okay. Keep moving around the edge and then place the piece of tape. So you're gonna wanna do top, bottom, and sides first, and that'll give you a sturdy little structure. Okay, so that's one side. Now you wanna flip it over. So I found that when I was making my example that the middle was collapsing, so it was starting to kind of sink in a little bit. So I came up with an idea to fix that. So put that aside. You're gonna grab some pieces of newsprint and you're gonna smush them into a big line and then twist them ever so gently, then curl so that you're kind of making like a big Gary snail, and put that in the center. You might want to tape it closed too, right there. Just so that it kind of sits in the center and then it doesn't sag. And do the other side. So you're gonna take your other circle and place it on top. And this is kind of why you want to have your tape already cut, so you're not wrestling with it as you try to put the pieces of tape on there. Here's one. Turn it around, do the other side. Now it's okay if it's not perfect. If it's a little big on the top, a little big on the sides, not a big deal. Okay, so now that we've got this little armature, we're gonna go ahead and cut up a couple more pieces of tape, and we're just kind of gonna even out the edges. Like this one I can fix. So taking my extra pieces of tape, I'm just going to go around the edges and just kind of close them up too. Not all the edges, you don't have to tape the whole thing, but just so that it's a little bit stronger. And that way you can play with the shape a little bit more. Oh, this one sunk. That's okay. Flip it over, do the same thing. So finish up your tape around the edges. So this is your armature, this is your structure, this is what we're gonna wrap in plaster bandage. So plaster bandage is something that we've never really used together. So I'm gonna give you a little bit of a tutorial on it. You have this little pan of water, and then you're gonna take this sheet. Now it's dusty and it's a little hard to work with. Dip it in the water, pick it up, and kind of squeegee it with your 2 fingers, trying to get a lot of the excess water out because you don't want it to be too watery. And then just go ahead and lay it right on top of your armature here. Smooth the sides down, and then go ahead and grab another piece. Same thing, just kind of lay it in the water, get it all wet. Now if you don't get it all wet, it'll be even harder to work with. Kind of squeegee it out with your fingers so that you're not getting it too wet, because then it gets real soppy. It's like a piece of fabric when it's wet. And then go ahead and gently overlap and lay it on your piece. You're going to need 3 pieces to cover the front, 3 pieces to cover the back, and 1 long strip to cover the side. Here I go. This is the front again. Dip it in the water, smooth it out, squeegee with your fingers, make sure you get all that excess water out so that it's not real slimy and goopy, and overlap and lay it on your piece. Okay, so that's the front. Now I'm going to go ahead and grab a long strip of it and do the side. You might need more than 1 strip to do the side, and that's totally okay. The really long strips are really hard to work with. So I'm just taking the piece, putting it in the water, squeegee with my fingers. I didn't quite get the other side. And then I'm going to wrap it around the edge. There we go. Okay, just wrap it around the edge and then gently smooth it down. Like, you want to be really gentle with this because we don't want to collapse the form. So see how I'm starting to wrap it? You want to cover up the whole armature. So keep doing that until you've made your way all the way around it. So I found this really long piece. I don't suggest using something this long because it's going to be really, really hard to work with while it's wet. So I'm going to cut it and then use this piece. You don't want to use anything that's bigger than the tray because then you can't get the whole thing wet at the same time. Squeegee with your fingers. Grab it with both hands and then just place it where you want it. It's better if you overlap the pieces a little bit, and it's okay if they're a little wobbly because you can smooth it out as you go. Now, if it overlaps the edge, just pull it and wrap it around the edge. Okay, so keep going until you've got the whole thing covered. When you're ready, flip it over on your messy mat and do the other side too. So you want to go ahead and cover the entire armature. Make sure that you're overlapping your pieces, and again, you can smooth them out with your fingers once you've got it on there. I just keep squeegeeing. If it starts to collapse, go ahead, go to the hair dryer, blow dry it a little bit, stiffen it up so that way it's not so wobbly. You want to try to find the pieces that are going to cover straight across without having to overlap in the middle of it. It looks neater that way. So that's the last step of the plaster bandage. Now it's gonna be a little wobbly, it's gonna be a little soft, but that's okay. We're gonna put it aside and dry it till next time. Okay, so once your structure is nice and hard, you're gonna take yellow paint and paint the whole thing. You wanna figure out where it stands up nicely so that way we know which way to draw the face on it. You want to make sure you got a lot of yellow paint because it is going to soak it up pretty quickly. So once you've got the whole thing painted yellow, you're going to need to let it dry before you go putting the face on your emoji. Okay, so now that my yellow paint is all dry, I get to paint my emoji face. Now, I love the crying, smiling, laughing tears one, so that's the one that I'm going to do. There will be pictures of emojis on the board so that you can pick which one you want to do. Now, painting on the plaster wrap is a little difficult because it's got some texture to it, so just kind of lightly dab it on there and it's okie dokie if it's not super perfect. Like, I'm going to start with the eyes. And here's my smiling, crying, laughing emoji.